Hello, my name is Gareth. Oh, I'm a little bit hot on the mic there. Let's just turn me down a little bit. My name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network. We got a crazy show for you today, so let's get to it. And hello to Karen Waring. Good afternoon to yourself. So if you notice, I have a little bit of a new setup today. We do have some new people starting with us next week. And so we've had to shuffle around a few desks and stuff to accommodate our new people. So we have a new studio setup that might change for Monday, but let's go on to the show. So we have our new cases, which we don't have today's new cases. It's coming in a written statement that we don't have quite yet. Yesterday we had 9 new cases and 2 new deaths. On Wednesday we had 9 new cases and 1 new death. And on Tuesday we had 11 new cases and 0 deaths. So that is sort of the new numbers for British Columbia. So since I talked to you last time, that's 29 new people that have been infected with COVID-19. So it's not the 25 people that we were having every day a couple weeks ago. So that's awesome news. Keep up the physical distancing, BC. Around the province, and if you're at home and you want to give me a call during my show here, 778-694-4662, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about during COVID-19. But what John Horgan has been saying is that the state of emergency that has been going on since the middle of March has been extended for another 2 weeks, and that makes this the longest state of emergency in British Columbia's history. And John Horgan is saying that there is likely no end in sight at this time. That being said, however, MLAs are expected to return to the Legislative Assembly effective June 22nd. Votes will be cast and democracy will be well served. And they can join either with virtual attendance or in person. We just spoke with our local MLA, Jackie Taggart, and she is saying that she is planning on going to Victoria to have her voice heard at the Legislative Assembly. And you can watch that interview that I did with Jackie on Monday, because it'll be posted Monday morning. Another thing that John Horgan says is we continue to recommend that we stay local. British Columbians have so much to explore and celebrate in their own communities. If we can keep transmissions low, we can begin to look at traveling elsewhere within our province. We must still be patient and respectful. Communities will welcome visitors when they are ready. So support BC tourism in exploring locally. So another thing that he is very interested about, it was an interesting thing. This was not speech, but public thing that he did was on the 27th. So there is the possibility of British Columbia hosting the Stanley Cup this year. Toronto and Edmonton are both in the running for this, and so are a handful of states in America. But the idea is that we can't have, of course, hockey games all over the place right now. And so they're looking at one place to have all the teams congregate and just have the hockey games that lead up to the Stanley Cup. Now, what this would mean is there'd be nobody in the stands, just the hockey players. And that seems to be a way that sports is going at the moment. But that would be an interesting thing if we could have that in BC. I know that a lot of, or hearing from what the States is saying, is that there would be too long of a wait period because each team from the States would have to quarantine for 14 days once they cross the border. Whereas apparently that's not a thing if you go from Canada to America. That's not a thing, which is interesting. But what do you think about the possibility of the NHL coming to BC? Because on March 12th, the NHL had announced a pause on the regular 2019-20 season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry is open to the idea of Metro Vancouver becoming a host region for National Hockey League to resume the season. But players would need to ensure proper physical distancing, hinting all visitors may be required. It would be required of all the players on the ice. There are also a handful of American cities looking to host. So that is the update from John Horgan's meeting the other day. Now we have a bunch of local updates. So one of them being from School District 74. So many of our older students have seen information about the current pandemic and the health precautions that they will need to follow if and when they return to school. Their ability to process that information helps them adjust to the different schedule and different safety measures they will see. Younger children may find this more difficult, as they may be expecting things to look the same as when they left. As adults, we want to help them prepare by talking to them about what might look different at school. So some of the things that might be the same and might be different are, so you can still walk to school, you can still have a family member drop you off, you can still take the bus, and you can still, and you will still come into the school things, or into the school setting. But you will go straight to class. When you get there, the adults will help you, and the adults will help you know what to do and where to go. Your family members will drop you off instead of bringing you inside. You might see fewer students on the bus, and the driver might have a mask. You might use a different door. The adults will help you know which door to use. And as for school supplies, you will have the things you need for school at your desk or table, and you will have a backpack with a water bottle, a change of clothes, and some snacks. However, you might see fewer supplies, and you will have your own things other than sharing with others. You will not use a locker. You will store the backpack in your classroom. So those are some differences and some similarities to things that students are going to see if or when they go back to school. For it is a go back to school on a volunteer basis. The idea is to practice now for the fall or September, when the school really opens up more. So if you are comfortable sending your kid to school, let us know. And if you're not, let us know. And tell us the reasons why you feel comfortable or not. It'd be interesting to see what the debate or conversation is over this particular topic. So that is an update from School District 74. As for the flooding in Cache Creek, the water level in the Bonaparte River continues to rise and fall as it races through town, but the dry weather is on our side at the moment. Rain will likely cause a noticeable rise in the river. The evacuation order of the property on Old Cariboo Rd has been rescinded. However, there is still approximately 175 properties on the evacuation alert. The village of Cache Creek has extended its state of a local emergency due to the bank damage caused by the fast-moving water of the Bonaparte River. Because of the lengthy state of flooding, the banks are saturated and could give away without any warning. What may look like a safe place to stand could severely be undercut and crumble into the river before you know it, so stay back and stay safe. The village is looking into how it can have the province declare this flood a disaster so that affected residents can apply for disaster financial assistance. Village Public Works staff continue to monitor water levels, bank erosions, and debris in the river. So a few reminders: bank erosion is still a problem, so stay 10 feet away from the water's edge. Keep children and pets away from the riverbanks. If you have items near or on the riverbanks, please move them away carefully. And remember to maintain COVID-19 physical distancing and protocols. Keep your distance and wash your hands. Now, also, this coming weekend is a special weather statement. So strong thunderstorms late Saturday, followed by significant rainfall on Sunday. That's for this coming weekend, the 30th and 31st of May. So a significant change in the weather will arrive on Saturday as a low pressure system enters BC from Washington State. Ahead of the low Saturday afternoon, atmospheric conditions are potentially conducive to strong thunderstorms with frequent lightning and very strong wind gusts. Heavy rain may accompany these storms. So That is a very good recipe for water to come back up, even though it's going down a little bit. So please, over the weekend, be prepared for these heavy rains. Stay safe, and we will, of course, talk about everything that happened over the weekend on our Monday show at 3. Also, a public notice from the village of Cache Creek. So public notice, use caution. Heavy equipment will be doing some work around the Todd Road Bridge in Cache Creek this afternoon. So please use the access next to the Star House restaurant. Thank you for your cooperation, the village of Cache Creek. Now, what do we got? Let's talk about historic Hat Creek. After much deliberation, we are sad to announce that we will not be reopening for the 2020 season. There will be no historic tours, camping, rental cabins, or restaurant services available. We will be booking 1-hour VIP private shopping experiences throughout the season by appointment or for up to 4 people at one time. The gift shop is full of inventory with lots of new Canadian-made unique items for kids and adults alike. Stay tuned this weekend for a preview and instructions on how to book your private shopping excursion. And there is a second update here. They say, welcome to 2020. Yes, Historic Hat Creek is closed for touring and meals, but you can still support your local nonprofit society by shopping locally. This will be our only stream of revenue for 2020 and will help maintain the site so we can open in 2021 in great shape. So that is from Historic Hat Creek, just outside of Cache Creek. And so then we move on to the Ashcroft and District Fall Fair. So they're saying with the current COVID-19 situation, canceling the Fall Fair will not come as a surprise, but it still hurts to have the announcement. There is no way to hold the event safely for our volunteers or visitors this year. We will impatiently wait for 2021 to bring our community event back. Keep making those COVID crafts, and we will see everyone next year. And that is from the Ashcroft and District Fall Fair. And of course, other things that have been canceled around the area has been Graffiti Days and Thunder in the Valley drag races, which are two big things that have been going on in our area for a long time. Well, Thunder in the Valley was just started up again last year, but for everything that is shutting down, I know it sucks, but 2021 is just a year away, so hopefully things can be better by then. In Ashcroft has a new CAO. So the Village of Ashcroft appoints Daniela Dick, who has accepted the position effective June 7th. So Council for the Village of Ashcroft is pleased to announce that Ms. Daniela Dick has accepted the position of Chief Administrative Officer. Ms. Dick has more than 11 years of local government experience and joined the Village of Ashcroft management team in April 2019 as the Deputy Corporate Officer. She is a longtime resident of the area and is excited to be leading the team in Ashcroft. And Daniela came from working the similar type of job in Clinton. I believe she's also on the Clinton Council for a brief period of time. So she's one of those rare anomalies that has been on both sides of the fence. So she brings a well-rounded system to what she's doing as CAO. So she has stepped in as acting CAO for the village in March of 2020, just as the full impact of COVID-19 pandemic was starting to be felt. Since then, she has overseen not only the day-to-day running of the village operations, but has also ensured the safety of residents and staff via the implementation of COVID-19 safeguards and protocols. So that is an excerpt from the Ashcroft Cache Creek Journal. Thank you to, I believe, who wrote this? I'm sure it was Barbara. So thank you, Barbara, for sharing that on your Facebook page. If you want to read the rest of that article, you can go to the Ashcroft Cache Creek Journal website or Facebook page, and you can see that story there. Now, what do we got? Work BC. So I got this just after I went offline on Monday. This is from Christy Berry, the one of the workers from the Ashcroft Work BC area. So this says, Community Futures Thompson Country donates $5,000 to support food security in the Thompson-Nicola region during COVID-19. So continuing their mandate of strengthening and supporting rural communities, Community Futures Thompson Country is donating $5,000 to food banks operating in their Work BC locations in Merritt, Lillooet, and Ashcroft. This donation will come at a critical time when concerns over the COVID-19 pandemic continue to affect communities across Canada. This crisis has created challenges around food access, especially for the most vulnerable Canadians. So that is awesome news, and donations have been provided to Nicola Valley Food Bank Society in Merritt. Nicola Valley Food Bank Society operates from Tuesday to Thursday in Merritt. Ashcroft and Area Food Banks, South Cariboo Elizabeth Fry Society in Ashcroft, and Lillooet Friendship Center in Lillooet, BC. So that is awesome. Thank you to Work BC and Community Futures for setting that up and passing that money along to people who really need it. Speaking of people who really need to be talked about right now is, and I meant to share this again on Monday, was an update from the Equality Project. So they say, hello Gareth, the Equality Project has decided that this Monday, and this would have been at the beginning of the week, this Monday we will continue to have takeout meals from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. as before, but we'll place several tables and chairs on the lawn, allowing our clubhouse friends to sit and have their lunch in a physically distancing fashion. Yes, it is very different, but we need to stay the course if we're eventually going to want to get back to doing things the way that we had. We will seek to do even more sanitizing and take precautions. That is an update from Joan Henderson of the Equality Project. So thank you, Joan, for everything that you've been doing. Maybe I'll try and sneak out and go and see them on Monday next week and see how things are going. Now, before I start talking about what happened at the Ashcroft and Cache Creek Council meetings on Monday, I just wanted to do a brief update as to what's going on with and I know this isn't even in our country, but what's been going on with this, the riots and the George Floyd situation in the States. So if you haven't heard of the former Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin is in custody, charged with murder in George Floyd's death. So this morning that was not the case. It is the case now. There has been significant rioting and looting and fires and shootings in the states all across the country in regards to this, and is bringing up a lot of past hurts in that country as well. So in some places it's not just about George Floyd's death, but it's about other people of color that have been killed by police. So that is the most current information that I have. They are expecting to have more rioting tonight, and the governor of Minnesota, I believe it was the governor, was saying that there will be a stronger police presence tonight, as there hasn't been such a police presence leading up to or over the last couple of days in that area. So it'll be interesting, if nothing else, to see what comes out of the next couple of days in the States. Now, talking about what's been going on in our local councils. So they both had meetings on Monday, and in Ashcroft, what do we got here? They passed a bunch of interesting things. So for example, Unity has asked the village council to let Unity have an outdoor space and serve drinks on an outdoor patio and do sort of live shows outside, and that was passed by the council. Kitty Murray showed up, and she's a volunteer with the hospital auxiliary thrift store that is just below the council office. So she was talking about asking for a sea can to be brought and dropped there so they can hold donations for up to a week to let at least a week to have COVID, just in case they're infected with COVID. So they're looking to quarantine donations for a brief period of time in a sea can. They've asked for that for 3 months. hopefully starting as soon as possible. That was passed on to new business later in the agenda, and I believe that was passed as well. And of course, you can see this meeting on our YouTube channel, which is the Hub Online Network on YouTube, or you can find it on our Facebook page as well. But other things that were brought up there was several information pieces that they chose to receive and file. The CFO talked again about what their budget is looking like. They gave another example of money's coming in, money's going out. So that was awesome. They're very up on their budget things that they're talking about in Ashcroft. And there were several questions from Gloria Mertens. She lives just outside of the Ashcroft boundary, which is reflected in a lot of answers that are given back to her via the village. But thank you nonetheless for the questions that you have, Gloria, keeping the council on their toes. So that was really the main sort of bits and pieces that happened in the Ashcroft Council meeting. But in Cache Creek, there was several, and both councils did talk about Hat Creek closing as well. They actually spoke about it just before Hat Creek released that themselves. And you are welcome, Maggie. Thank you for watching. The council, so I'm just going to read the minutes or the agenda here. So the council did have a budget meeting last Thursday, at which point the CFO did say that she was concerned about the financial sittings or holdings of the village of Cache Creek. So that being said, the main thing that was talked about at this particular meeting was there's a fund from NDIT, which is Northern Development. Do you remember what that's called, Jessica?
Northern Development Initiative Trust.
Initiative Trust, thank you. Where if the village comes up with a society and puts a certain amount of money in, up to $50,000, the NDIT will match that funding up to $50,000. Now, it doesn't all have to be at once. It can be in stages over time. But they were talking about the possibility of starting with $25,000. Now, the good thing about this particular type of fund is that the village, if someone like, let's say, Equality Project wanted to go and ask for a grant and aid from the village would then pass them over to this particular group that is funded instead of giving them money themselves. So they asked the CFO if it was possible to take $25,000 and start this fund, and the CFO didn't seem to, not to know, but didn't think that the possibility of starting that wasn't feasible at this time. So that was really the big talking point that came out of this. And again, you can watch this, the council meeting on our YouTube channel. It's very interesting to watch what's going on in Cache Creek at the moment with all the flooding and everything happening right now. It's Cache Creek keeps getting hit with stuff year after year after year. But they are working on other things to try and mitigate that flooding as well. So they have some plans in the works for that. And despite the fact that you can't really hear my questions, go check out an interview I did with Lisa Defoe, who's a councilwoman off the Village of Cache Creek Council. She talks more at length about some things that they're trying to do, the history of the flooding, all that kind of stuff. She's been a councillor for about 9 years, so she's been here the longest out of everybody on the council. She has a lot of really good information, so check out that interview again on our YouTube channel. Other things that they talked about was the East Trans-Canada Highway Bridge. So a meeting was held with CFO Martini, Utility Services Foreman Steve Peacock, Fire Chief Tom Moe, and Stanek Consulting Representative on May 20th. And a copy of the agenda Class B budget is in the drawings and attached. So they are talking about making a sort of overpass bridge thing so they can get a culvert by the fire hall in Cache Creek. And they're hoping that would alleviate some of the pressure and halt some of the flooding. So that is something that is being looked at in Cache Creek at this time. So that is really all the, yes, we are strong, Maggie. So that's really all the sort of the bigger talking points that happened. I am looking at starting another bi-weekly show that goes more in depth as to what the councils are talking about, because there is a lot of information that does get not glossed over, but passed over due to time. So for example, if they say item 7.1, are we going to vote on this, and they all vote yes, it's hard for the public to know what item 7.1 is unless you read the agenda. So I am looking at starting another show that goes more in depth into those types of things. So stay tuned for that. And Soup's On is still doing their Friday morning voucher handout to people that might need a meal or two. So if you know of someone in that position that doesn't know about Soup's On, it's at St. Albans Church from 11 till 1. They're handing out vouchers to local restaurants where they can go and get a lunch or a dinner. So check that out as well. And that's really, no one's called today, so that's good. Nice quiet Friday afternoon. That's all the stuff that I have for you. So be sure to check us out on Monday at 3 p.m. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Stay safe and keep your physical distancing up. And make sure to check out an upcoming interview that I've done with Jackie Taggart that'll be coming out on Monday, as well as an interview I just did with Pamela I from Revelations that'll also be coming out on Monday. So thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you guys next week.